Okay, thanks everyone for taking time out of your day to come to Customer Proprietary Network Information Training, so affectionately known as CPNI. So what is CPNI? It is Customer Proprietary Network Information. In the United States is information that telecommunication services such as local and long-distance and wireless companies acquire about their subscribers. It includes services that they use as well as the amount, time, and usage. The Telecommunications Act of 1996, together with clarifications from the FCC, generally prohibits the use of information without customer permission, even for the purposes of marketing the customer's other services. In the case of customers who switch to other service providers, the original service provider cannot use the information they got from the customer to try and get the customer back. CPNI includes information such as optional services, subscribe to, current charges, directory assistant charges, usage data, calling patterns, in general, anything that appears on the customer bill. The CPNI rules do not prohibit gathering and publishing of aggregated customer information for the purpose of directories. Companies must protect CPNI with a password. Therefore, a password or PIN is required to gain access when calling and billing data, calling about billing data over the phone. And in person, a government ID is okay. We can require that. Currently, the FCC only regulates CPNI on phone service. MCG has decided that we want to use CPNI passwords also to, for customers when they want access to passwords, such as their Wi-Fi router password, their MCG TV password, and their email password. So in everyday terms, so that was a lot of stuff about the regulation of it. So in everyday terms, we're talking about phone numbers called and phone calls received, times of the calls, durations, how frequently those calls are made, amount of the bill, and services purchased by the customer. So if they have caller ID, call waiting, three-way calling, voicemail purchased in addition on their phone service, that's all falls in CPNI, and we have to verify who we're talking to before we can tell them what services that they have on there, okay? So not considered CPNI is basically public information, like the customer's name, address, phone number. Those are all public information. You can Google and find any of that stuff out. And then, like I mentioned on the first one about aggregated customer information. That's basically, I receive requests from directory companies for when they're putting together phone directories. So I aggregate all of our customer information into a document of phone numbers, names, and addresses for phone directory publications. So that's aggregated customer information. Sign in, please. Okay, so that, so what's the big deal? Why are we doing this training? Well, in 1999, the Federal Communications Commission created rules protecting the customer information gathered by local long-distance and wireless companies, such as the phone numbers that the customers called when they made the calls, different services they have. This information is referred to as, again, CPNI. The FCC is empowered to investigate customer complaints about unauthorized or unlawful disclosure of their customer information and can issue citations and fines. So if we aren't compliant, they can fine us. During the late 2005 and early 2006, numerous media reports stated that some companies known as data brokers advertised the ability of records of telephone subscribers' incoming and outgoing calls for a fee. So these data brokers were getting information from telecom companies and selling it. The report suggested that these brokers tricked telecom providers into giving up private data, or in some cases were assisted by telecom employees who provided data to brokers. Often called pretexting, these instances of theft of personal information caused an uproar in the media and in Congress. So, you know, I don't know if all of you know, but I come to MCG from a cellular background. I started at US Cellular in 1990. So this was before CPNI, this uproar. And when you had limit on you didn't have unlimited voice. You didn't have unlimited calling. You had minutes in your package. You only used so many minutes. So you remember that? Matt found a brochure the other day and brought it and showed it to me from US Cellular from '97. I'm like, oh, I remember that, all the packages. Anyway, so, you know, people would come into the office and say, hey, I need to know where I am on my package so I don't go over. So we'd print out their calls, or my kid's using too much. We printed out calls for people all the time to let them know where they are. It was no big deal. Well, that all ended because, you know, people were saying they were someone else and getting call information. There were, within our company over in Davenport, that situation happened, and with a significant other, and the one significant other beat the other one within an inch of their life based on what was on the found on the call records. There was another incident that had to do with a trial of somebody was going to testify against this big person, and they got data and then threatened the person that was going to testify against him. So that's why this is a big deal. So it is important. I know, you know, it's time out of your day, but it is very important. The other part of the big deal is we haven't been in compliance. So we need to be in compliance. We do our due diligence. We try to make sure we got the right customer stuff, but we need to follow the same set of rules. So that's why we're doing this. If we aren't in compliance and a customer says that we gave their information out and they investigate us and they find out we aren't in compliance, we get $150,000 a day for each violation, or $150,000 for each violation, and each day we continue to violate up to $1.5 million. So if you didn't have iView access, you'd be done now. But you all have iView access. So when I do this with OSP, I'll get to dismiss part of the room, but we're going to continue on. So when can you use CPNI? So when required by law. So we get court subpoenas, and those need to go to Matt. When we get a subpoena, they need to be treated with discretion. Like I've been telling everybody, you don't go, oh, guess who's being subpoenaed? You know, so treat it with discretion. Most of them come in through email, but we have had them come in the front door. Officers come in with subpoenas. We need to get him. If he's not available, we need to call him and let him know, because he needs to get on those right away. They take priority. Customers' approval. So customers, if they for some reason, and we don't have this very often, but if the customer for some reason wants their records, we can fill out this form. We got a handy dandy little form, and it's on the M drive, and support guys are probably familiar with it, but it's on the M drive. We fill that out and we can get them their information. We don't have this happen very often. I mean, since you've been here, have you ever had a customer request it? Yeah, so, but it does have on this form, what did we use to verify them, their CPNI? How did we verify them? Providing service for the services they signed up for. So again, CPNI is just on phone. CPNI is just on phone, but we also use CPNI to verify for passwords. Again, like I said, But we have to provision phones in Metaswitch. We put our directory information in WTN with Arion. Those are our vendors, and so 3 and 5 kind of go together. 5 talks about agents, so we do have to share CPNI with our vendors to be able to service our customers for the service the customer signs up for. So, but they have the same privacy rules that we do. So they have to have CPNI, and we may call troubleshooting. A customer says they're not getting incoming calls, so we may need to talk to a vendor and try, share information to try and troubleshoot that. So that is okay. We can use CPNI then, but it has to be with our vendors that we normally work with that have the same rules we do. And then skipping back to number 4, if a customer someone comes in and they're intending to pay, or actually comes in or calls, we get a lot of people calling and they would go to or pay by phone. When they come in or call and they want to pay on the bill, we can tell them the total due on the account. We can't give them breakdown of what brought up, the details of the bill, how it got to that total amount, but we can give them the total amount if they intend to pay. I know in some of the other meetings, others that came, I know Drayton today, he worked for cellular for years, and he was working for cellular. It sounded like in the years when we couldn't even tell him how much, when CPNI first came out, you couldn't tell them nothing. You couldn't tell them total bill, nothing without verifying them. So then they changed it a few years later, and we can give them the total if they intend to pay. What does CPNI opt-out and opt-in mean? So the customer has 2 choices. Opt-in means MCG may use the customer's CPNI for the purposes of determining and offering products and services that may benefit the customer. So you're talking to a customer and they're talking about, I give the example a CSR would have, but you'd have other things, I'm sure, with phone, a lot of long distance, or and you see that, they could sign up for unlimited long distance and save some money. If they're opted in, we can use the information we see on their account to offer them those other services that we think will benefit them. If they opt out, we couldn't tell them that. So if they're opt out, we're on the phone with them and we see that they could benefit by some other service that we have, we can't offer them other services if they're opt out. We can get a one-time authorization. We can say, I have something I'd like to tell you about that I can offer you. I see you're opted out of getting offers. May I have a one-time verbal authorization to tell you about this? If that happens, then we have to note the account, what we told the customer, and that they approved us to do that one time. We have no customers that are opted in right now, okay? Or opted out, sorry, said that wrong. No customers that are opted out. Everybody's opted in. Personally, I think it'd be crazy to opt out, but I can see if it was a company that was always trying to harass you or sell you other things, but that's not us. Regardless if the customer is opt in or opt out, they need to be verified, okay? And again, it's phone and when they're wanting passwords. So if they are an internet only, I know the CSR team is, I think, trying to just verify everybody just to make sure we got the same thing. But if the customer doesn't remember and you feel comfortable and they're internet only, we really don't have to verify them and we're in compliance. Okay? But we usually go to, or at least I usually go to, the security question, because if it's truly the customer, they remember what state their mother was born in or whatever the security question they have. They may not remember their password, but everybody remembers their security questions. So, so it's not hard to verify somebody. Customers with phone service need to be verified when making changes to their account, including moving, disconnecting, adding, and removing services. CPNI verification, so how we verify them. I touched on this a little bit. When a customer calls in to obtain information on their account, they need to provide the CPNI password or security question. Again, this only applies to account with phone service or when requesting password information. If the customer is unable to provide CPNI verification, MCG can call the customer back at the phone number of record. The phone number of record is the phone number on the account. So the phone number, the landline phone number we assign to them, okay? If they are internet only and they're wanting to find out their router information, it needs to be the call capture number. So the number not on the account, not the number they're calling from, because they may be sitting outside on the street in front of this person's house. They can look up on Beacon like we talked about earlier and get the person's name and address. You know, they can sit in front of the house, they know the address, get the person's name, say, I'm so-and-so, I forgot my password. Well, no, call me back at this number, you know, especially, you know, passwords. So it has to be the number on the account, not the number they're calling from, okay? And then we can also send them information to the address record. They can't verify, but they want a copy of their last bill. We can send another copy of the bill the same place we sent the first bill, or the email address, as long as it's been associated with the account for at least 30 days, okay? And when troubleshooting issues with MCG services, the customer, you need to verify CPNI before sharing any call information with them. So you're troubleshooting, customers having problems with their calls coming in. It's okay if they're telling you what time they made a call or what call came in and time, but don't share the call date, time, number, unless you verified them. Make sure you've got the right person. Questions so far? Yes?
How does this work for businesses?
We're getting to that. Business accounts. So, MCG understands that we do not have CPNI information on a majority of our businesses. We are in the process of putting together a plan to update our business accounts to include CPNI information. For now, business accounts are to be handled the same way they are today. We will give you more information as the plans are put together, okay? And this is what we want to get to, that they'll be handled the same as residential. If they can't verify the password, we need to tell them we'll have the business account specialist get with them. Because in our CPNI manual, it does state if they have a one-on-one relationship with their business account specialist, then the specialist does not have to verify CPNI because they have that relationship. So the business account specialist, if they don't have the relationship, well, the business account specialist needs to call on them and get their stuff updated. So, more questions? Should I go to the next slide? Okay.
What if they don't have a password or anything?
So that's what, yeah, back to the other one, that's what for business or residential. Residential, if they don't, we can call them back at the phone number on the account phone number, whether if they have an active phone number with MCG, we got to call that number. Otherwise, if they don't have an active phone number, then we can call the call capture, okay? And then we can set up CPNI at that point. You'd probably want to send us a note that we need to, because I don't expect you guys to capture and set up their CPNI information. Yes?
So say if we get to a customer's house and they're wanting to know some of their information, do we just refer them to call the CSRs or?
So if it's your initial install and you've got your packet with your router information and everything, I know sometimes they have a relative there or something, but they asked for the install, they knew when we were coming, and they knew we were going to leave this information. So you can leave that information there at the house, your packet of information. So, good question. Any others? So, quiz time. Let's make sure everybody's paying attention. Rex Jones calls and he's wanting to know if they have caller ID on their phone service. You look at the account and the only name listed is Jenny Jones. Rex says, I pay the bills, you take my money. Can you give him the information? Nope, correct. Bertha Thompson comes in and wants to pay on her son's account, but Bertha's not authorized on his account. What do you do? Give him the total. Yeah, give her the total. Bless you. Sue Vandermeer calls and says she's in the accounting department with Mahaska Bottling, and she has questions about the charges on the bill. You look at the account, she's not listed as an authorized user, but you look at Mahaska's website and you see she is an accountant at she's an accountant at Mahaska. What do you do? Contact the business account specialist and let them, and just tell them, I'll have business account specialist get a hold of you. Last one, Sally Johnson, let's not even go there, it's a trick one. I'll just tell you. So Sally Johnson comes in, her mother passed away, and she has a copy of the death certificate and paper showing she's the executor of the estate. No, we would not change the name on the account. We could disconnect the account and do a change of ownership to Sally, but we would not just change a name on the account. So what's required to be compliant? So these are the things that are required and part of the certification that has to be filed with the FCC every year. So we have to obtain the customer's consent before discussing CPNI. So we're signing off that yes, we do that. When a customer requires information on their account, we need to verify them with CPNI password or question. MCG must keep records of CPNI status. This is kept on the security screen in iView. So we have a screen, and that's coming up next. There's a screen in iView where we can see opt-in, opt-out. So that's what they're talking about. We have to keep record of that. We will train new employees within the first 90 days and hold annual follow-up trainings. So the annual follow-up training will not be quite as intense. This is the initial training. The annual will just kind of be a shorter refresher and any changes that have come out in the last year. Okay. MCG is required to send notices to customers each year. We have been doing that. Every year in our billing, we send like a one-page slick little sheet that tells the customer about CPNI, what they need to do if they want to opt out. And then it says to call us if they have any questions. So we have been sending this out every year, so we have been notifying them. And still, we don't have anybody who's opted out. If a customer requests to opt out, it is required to be in writing. So we also have a form on the M drive that tells them all about what they're doing when they want to opt out, and they have to sign. But it's only good for 2 years. So after 2 years, so we put a date in iView on that same CPNI screen. And after 2 years, we have to send them a notice that they got to sign another one of these and get it back within 30 days. Otherwise, they're automatically opt-in. So they can't just sign once and be opted out forever. So it's kind of a pain to be opt-out. So because we want everybody to be opt-in.
So if you're telling these guys how to see that screen, and they happen to see one that's opt-out because we had that list?
We should have everybody taken care of. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I pulled it. So if CPNI is used for marketing campaigns, MCG must keep a record of the specific CPNI that was used in the marketing campaign, what products and services were offered as part of the campaign. These records must be retained for a minimum of a year. So for example, if we want to market to our customers that don't have unlimited long distance, and only, then we would have to keep a record of that, because we are using information we know from that customer's record that they don't have unlimited, and we're targeting that, so that we would have to keep a record of. If we marketed to all of our telephone company customers, whether they had unlimited long distance or not, that we have unlimited long distance, then we don't have to keep a record of that. So as long as we treat everybody the same in our marketing, that we don't have to record it, but if we are starting to target our marketing based on the services the customer has, then we have to keep a record of it. An officer must sign a compliance certificate annually and file it with the FCC. So that is now starting March of next year will be Steve, so that's why he's wanting to make sure we get in compliance before he has to sign off on it, so he can, in all clear consciousness, say, yes, we are compliant. And MCG must notify customers when the following changes are made to their account: the CPNI password, the address, account number, and the CPNI opt-in, opt-out status. So we have to notify them. We notify them by, process is run every day, and it'll send them an email to each customer that has had a change to their account that requires a notification to be sent. If the customer does not have an email, we have to print and send a paper letter. So if they don't have an email, they're not allowed to make changes. No. And this is a screenshot of where you can see the CPNI. So on the customer screen, there's a security tab, and this is what the security tab is, and there's where our opt-out, opt-in. There's where we can see their password, and then and that password is just a password that has nothing to do with their Smart Hub account, their online account. That's just for us to verbally verify them. These are the changes that were made, and the ones with check marks are changes that will fall in one of those 4 categories I mentioned earlier. Other changes, they may have changed their hint question, they may have changed their email address. That doesn't fall in the categories that require the letter needed. Then after the letter is sent out, this field is filled in that the letters have been sent. And then as far as the paper, I am looking into that. We do the report runs automatically and processes and knows which ones need a letter. I'm going to get with probably Jesse and or Mark, because I don't see any reason why we can't find out which ones needed a letter and didn't have an email. And then we can kind of streamline that to make sure we're hitting everybody with the letters. Questions?
I do.
Yes.
And I only ask this because it happens every time I ask somebody their security question. So specifically, one time it was like, what's your favorite dog's name? And the lady said one, and I was like, guess again. And she went through like 5 dogs. At what point do I just say, no, sorry, and then she's calling me on the call capture number even?
Well,
How far do we have to
yes,
go?
I didn't mention that. We have to call back because they could have spoofed the number. So you could, tell you what, let me call you back. So hang up and call back. So yeah, we should only give them 1 opportunity. If it's a dog, maybe 2. But yeah, your account was established, well, yeah.
They're almost always wrong. Like whenever I ask them what their security question their answer is.
Even the question?
Yeah, they're almost always wrong when I talk to them. And I'm just like,
So yeah, I mean, especially like I said, Wi-Fi passwords, and if it's phone, I mean, like I said, if we give, I shouldn't say this, but if we give out a Wi-Fi password without verifying security, we're not going to get fined, or Steve's not going to prison or anything, because CPNI is only on phone. But we as a company feel it's very important to make sure our customers' information is secure, because like I said earlier, if somebody can be trying to get somebody's Wi-Fi, stealing their Wi-Fi, or trying to get their MCGTV, get in their email, you know, so those passwords are important, and that's why we want to make sure we're verifying it.
So I can call them back on their call capture and then give it to them?
Yeah.
Even if they get the security question wrong?
If they get the security question wrong, yes, you can call them back on the call capture, and then I would tell them, so I'll go ahead and help you, but you need to call in tomorrow and talk to, or transfer to the CSR team and get that updated. Yeah.